Hello, welcome to SHOWstudio's live panel discussions. Today we're talking about Rick Owens, the godfather of avant-goth fashion. The Autumn/Winter 25 menswear show just happened at Paris Fashion Week, and to hopefully help me and you at home better understand the cult appeal of Rick Owens, I've invited some incredible creatives from the industry who I'll let introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Dahc Dermur Chad, and I'm a performance artist, educator, and very grateful to be here today.
Hi, I'm Yaz XL, and I'm a stylist and designer.
I am Oluwafeyitimi Majekodunmi. I am a fashion designer and do all sorts.
Hi, I'm Harri. I'm a fashion designer and artist from London.
Thank you all for joining me today, and thank you for watching from home. If you're following along on the live chat on YouTube, please send over any questions, and we hope to get to them by the end of the discussion. Also, if you want a free Rick Owens pattern, head to showstudio.com, because our annual design download project got a tech top this year that you can make at home. Okay, so Rick is always a great brand to talk about, I think, because he's a technical master when you look at his very fluid draping, precise architectural tailoring, but he's also never shied away from really ingraining his work with philosophy, politics, and personality. Before we look at the collection, I want to know what everyone here thinks about Rick Owens and why it has appealed to so many people.
I'll go first. I think Rick is timeless. I don't know, you can look at any of his collections from his first to the most recent one, and there's just, you feel like you can buy, like those clothes could be shown like this year, they could be shown today, tomorrow, they could be shown in 2010, like it's kind of timeless. Mm-hmm. That's personally why I like it. It doesn't age.
I think Rick really, he kind of exceeds even what fashion is. I believe it's a movement, it's a way of life. I think he makes us all feel seen and heard. I think it was 2017, he won the Life Achievement Award, and he said, one of life's greatest fundamental needs is to be listened to. And I think he makes us all feel like he's hearing us and he sees us, and that we have a place in the world. And I think that definitely is integrated in like his collections and what he does best.
Yeah, he's always kind of stood for the weirdo, the outsider.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's just so consistent in his world as well, and it breaches past fashion. It sort of bleeds into how he lives, where he lives, the food you eat. He's just such an incredible world builder, so it's just so convincing.
Mm-hmm. I can talk from a designer's point of view. Rick is like a beacon of light, shines endless possibilities. Mm-hmm. If it wasn't for Rick, if Rick wasn't there, I don't think we would have Calpio, I don't think we would have Craig Green, I don't think I would be there.
He's always pushed the boundaries
and opened them into possibilities.
Should we have a look at Autumn/Winter 25 menswear?
Yes.
So like I said, the show just happened. It is titled Concordians, a nod to Concordia, Italy, the commune where Owens Corp's factory and atelier are located. The brand employs over 100 people across administration, pattern cutting, etc. In 2023, Rick Owens offered a rare look at the life of the Owens Corp employees with a vlog he posted on YouTube, showing the behind the scenes, which was established over 20 years ago. A majority of the team has been working with Rick since the beginning, and it's always been quite tight-knit. I think a real signifier of how important family and community is for him and the brand. Anything standing out or initial thoughts with this menswear collection?
The silhouette. It's kind of like there's more going on top, and then like it's kind of like thinner on the bottom, if you get what I mean.
Oh, wow, yeah.
It's hot too.
Yeah, I agree with you.
He's always played a lot with exaggerated proportions and silhouettes, and I think the body is something that is always on Rick's mind.
Wow.
Yeah, he was saying in the interview with, I think it was Bella Freud, how his goal is to look like, do you know the character from the Rocky Horror Picture Show, the one that opens the door? He's like the butler. He has like the receding hairline.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, his goal is to look like that. And I was like, you can kind of see.
Do we think that Rick's world can be intimidating for some people?
Yeah.
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 I'm not sure. It's hard to take ourselves out of it when we've experienced it and we've lived it and been around it for so long, and that it's, again, this point of visibility and otherness and queerness and transness. So you see it and it's so relatable. So taking yourself out of that context and trying to see it from an outsider standpoint, I can see that, but I think it's, people even outside of that, it looks, Rick is a punk and it's a rebellious act, but I think one of the greatest things you can do to be rebellious is also have compassion. So I think once you scratch the surface of that and people see what's really at the core of Rick Owens, it's hope and it's love, and I think once that makes sense, it's universal. It's, it can make sense to anybody.
Sorry. No, I do agree with you to an extent, but then, I don't know, I imagine my traditional, relatively traditional Nigerian mother kind of like looking at, kind of seeing all this, and I know she would probably have a couple words, but, but obviously because, we're in this space and we're exposed to a lot of this creativity and like queerness and different people and different body types and all that sort of stuff. I guess it makes sense to us, but to, I guess, outside normal person.
Yeah,
average.
no, I agree for sure.
At like a first glance, it is like big structures. It's like brutalist forms, and it is naturally, that's an initial intimidating reaction.
I agree.
But once you actually peer under the surface and, actually get to know what Rick's about and follow the brand, you understand that it's actually the absolute opposite. It's all about inclusivity, love, kindness, and the opposite of intimidation.
I always say, give me 60 seconds with somebody and I'll change your mind through kindness and hug it out. But
you do that.
Yeah, sure. It's interesting what you were saying earlier, like on the street, if I'm getting trouble or really aggressive behavior. And it's interesting in the last couple of years when the Kiss boots came out, sometimes it gives me validation when they're looking here and they're really scared and they want to call me an FAG or queer, whatever it is, that it makes them really uncomfortable and they want to give hate. I'll give kindness. I won't exchange hate for hate, but a lot of times they'll go to the shoe or they'll go to the Kiss boot that almost has become like a revolutionary statement of acceptance, where I feel like it transcends something that's maybe uncomfortable for people. And I think Rick has this magic where he can create like a Rick trainer or a Kiss boot or something that all the other things, all like these alien shapes and things that are quite intimidating, he finds something that is a language that makes sense to a lot of people. And I think to see that even on the street or that something that's recognized is, I think, quite magical.
I think Rick Owens and what the brand has done really phenomenally, and I think we'll look back on decades to come as a case study, is how subversive he is with his design language and with his spectacles of runway shows. But when you really strip it back, I think there is also a real approachability to a lot of the clothes, which is why it's done, I think, as well as it has. It's found that sweet spot between artistic expression and wearability. To Faye's point, I think it is fascinating to talk about that demographic that kind of misunderstands what Rick's doing, and maybe opening the question to, is there a way to make them understand? Or how do we see the direction of that understanding, misunderstanding going, especially today?
I have something to say of what Faye mentioned there about his mom, right? I come from India, and we see alien figures, we see face paint, we see unusual things in our temples, in our cultures, in our murals, in our dance forms, art forms. And I still wonder why people find that intimidating. Even for my culture, it is quite like a question from my head. It's like we are exposed to it religiously, culturally, yet we find it in that context, in the context of fashion. When it becomes fashion, it is intimidating, which is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
And I don't think it is spectacle. I think it's substance for me, because I wouldn't call it spectacle because it's part of the narrative. It's not spectacle like the brands do now. It's not. It doesn't, exist differently. It's just all part of a bigger narrative, I feel.
Yeah, I think I used spectacle because I'm thinking about that last show he did, Hollywood, which had
The gymnastics.
Gymnastics. There was these insane
smoke,
figures, something like 500 design students watched the show.
I think everything, like the shows are a spectacle, the clothes are a spectacle. Him himself, he wears it, he lives it, he is a spectacle. I think Rick Owens is synonymous with spectacle. I don't think he's trying anymore. I think this all just I don't think he was ever trying, to be honest. I think everything just comes naturally to him, and even Michele, she's a spectacle, and Tyrone is a spectacle, and that kind of makes me wonder, actually, that dynamic that they all have. It's like Michele was his.
I love that dynamic.
Right?
It's an interesting dynamic.
But Michele kind of showed him the way, almost. They kind of had each other hand in hand. And he kind of has Tyrone in his hand too, kind of showing him the way. And I wonder, is Tyrone gonna show anyone else?
So for the people maybe unfamiliar with the family dynamics of Rick Owens, Rick Owens is of course married to Michele Lamy, who was at one point in the 90s his boss for her own label, and then they moved to Paris, did Owens Corp, and Tyrone, who styled the show, is something of a muse and lover to Rick Owens, and I think it, again, speaks to that idea of maybe not using the word spectacle, but in its true form, it's quite alternative, right? It's
It's a modern relationship.
Yeah, it's taking all the rules that we have about living, about interior design, about dressing, about relationships, and kind of flipping it on its head.
Totally.
And why do we think that's so, I guess, repellent to some people? And I say that because a lot of SHOWstudio's content with Michele and with Rick Owens has been quite flooded with trolls.
Yeah.
And there was that moment on TikTok where people wanted to slap Satanist on anything Michele did, or high witch of whatever, which is ludicrous.
It seems quite primitive in a way. Kind of I'm not saying they're polygamous, but it almost seems like a polygamous relationship, and the way they dress, the way their values in life and stuff. It's very not basic in the negative way, but stripped all back.
Exactly.
It's simple.
Yeah.
To where it is, and it's very authentic. That's why I agree with the spectacle. It becomes not a spectacle. I think people project spectacle onto it, but the way that they live their life 24/7, authentically in who they are, in their relationship, in Rick and Michele's relationship, in Tyrone and Rick's relationship, and just it bleeds out of every pore of their being. You can see it the way they live, the way they use their public platforms, with the political state of the world, with Palestine, and then Rick, really pushing the envelope with queerness and otherness and transness, and I just think it is this overarching message, and I think it's so important, and that's back to the spectacle word. If it's to watch something like this, each Rick show, it's very theatrical, it's very cinematic, and I think more than ever we're looking for something that's a kind of a departure, an escape from reality. But the magic of Rick is he gives us something to take back to our reality. It's back to Hollywood. I reference that, I watch it, I cry again and again just to see this epitome of hope and epitome of love. It makes me really emotional to see what's happening in the world, and that's what everybody needs, and that message is unarguable. To have every shape, color, size, age, race walk down, that runway, gender, sexuality. It is so bold, and it's to me, it's the pinnacle of fashion, runway, existence, life, and it's medicinal. And we get to take that back and integrate it into our daily lives and have hope and compassion and love. And that, for me, is why Rick is Rick.
There's almost a paradox.
Chills.
Mic drop.
What you're saying, in that I think the average person, or the average fashion consumer who isn't familiar, is gonna view this as something so far beyond their world and their understanding. But like you said, at the core of the brand, and something Rick has always pioneered is, racial diversity, body diversity, gender diversity on the runway. Is there a way for the brand to maybe, or should they even make that more of a point that's digestible to
I think like
the normies?
Oh no.
I think if you like Rick Owens, you like him. Like I don't think they have to make a point to do anything. And like, for example, like someone like JT, fabulous rapper, like she had her birthday at the Rick Owens store, and like someone like Saucy Santana, another rapper, who you wouldn't think, like who wouldn't be like the typical Rick Owens clientele, or like what I would think would be like the generic like Rick Owens clientele, like feels close enough to wear like the clothing. And then someone like Usher, there's like a very diverse community.
Yeah.
Like it's not like he's speaking to one person, he's kind of speaking to everyone. And if you're listening, you're listening, and if you're not, you're not.
Exactly.
I think it's that funny thing too, is like that this isn't a niche brand.
Yeah.
This isn't an if you know brand. This is like one of the biggest pulls of Paris Fashion Week, stores all over the world, people referencing Rick who wouldn't have been referencing this kind of fashion 5-10 years ago.
But I also feel like, since I think it was the last show in Cardi B, that was like a bit turn off moment for me.
Say that again.
Cardi B at his last show.
Because I feel like Rick Owens has this, his own world, his own community that's so strong and powerful. And when I see Usher, when I see Usher wearing it, or when I see Cardi B wearing it, it kind of speaks a little ingenuity there, almost like a PR stunt. It's just it speaks ingenuity. It speaks
So
like
seeing it, I guess, in a like pop setting.
Yeah.
Does that maybe deter anyone else?
Like
On the world of Rick Owens. I quite like it.
the world. Like,
I think it's
like,
fantastic.
What did you say?
No, I said it expands it.
Yeah, it expands. But I see both sides. Yeah, it's.
Because for me, I'm kind of like, I see people wearing, the Rick Owens. I see like people of color wearing the Rick Owens stuff, and I'm just like, okay, like the black girls like it, the white girls like it, everyone likes it,
But then I think it's the same thing as like there's that one dress that every Real Housewife currently on air has. That's Rick Owens that they wear too.
I think I know the one you're talking
The one
about.
it's strapless with the origami kind of folded
birthday
chest.
cake.
Yeah. Like the
But when
birthday
it-
cake is
What
Rick.
is that? Birthday cake.
Oh, it's like an abstract Rick Owens birthday
Oh, it's a boot.
black shiny robe?
Yeah, it's like a boot or something.
Like JT, even in her songs, she referenced Dark Shadows, like, on her new album, like, and like, even speaking of Dark Shadows, there's something for everyone in the Rick. Like, the tank tops, like, I remember, like, I spent a lot of money on those tank tops. It's weird.
No, but it's the tank tops. No, it's the tank tops and the red long sleeve tee and like all it. Again, it expands. It's. I get both sides of the coin because I think both sides of the coin are necessary. It expands it, but then a lot of these people who are referencing it or wearing it, are they an ally? Would they defend us? Would they come to, with what's happening in America and around the world? you know, which side are they on? And that's kind of where we are in the world. It's come to that, you know, and we need to know who has our back and who's going to vote for us and protect our rights. So it does expand it, but I think it's also an opportunity. It's a language, and I think while we're on the street or we're on a panel in our day-to-day life, we need to educate people, and maybe even say if it looks like somebody that may not know, maybe educate them. I think it's all an opportunity.
To your point, I think how I'm understanding it is that when it veers into pop, the initial messaging can get lost, which is a very valid fear for somebody like Rick, who I think is easily misunderstood.
And that's a shift I've been seeing for the last maybe 2 years. So it was a post-pandemic shift. Before this, it was a very, if you know it, I don't think it
I agree. It's been the last couple of years to where it's really, really taken off.
In all fairness, there is a paparazzi pic of Taylor Swift in a Rick Owens leather jacket from like 20.
Okay, I draw the line there. I draw the line there at the Swifties.
I do want to say, before we continue, that I'm sure somebody in the comments, there you go, Taylor.
No.
But that's very like nondescript.
But that's what they were in. Yeah, Desperate Housewives.
No,
they all have that cut.
Yeah, like I think there's a photo of what's her name in it too. Jennifer, she was on Friends.
Aniston.
Yeah, Jennifer.
Yeah, she has one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we continue, I just want to preface with, I think we will all come to an agreement that fashion is political.
It is.
That it is representative of you and your values, and Rick, especially as a designer, would and has been very open about his runways being part of his philosophy, part of his politics. So if you are drafting a horrible comment about fashion just being clothes, please delete it. Back to the show.
Because it's not.
Yeah, especially
Because
not,
not to be a downer, at the end of the day, it all goes away.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, what does the fashion represent? What kind of person is, I think it was Diane Vreeland that said, it's not about the dress you wear, it's about the person you are and the character you have as you wear the dress. And I think that's what, you know, Rick does. It's like, we're not taking any of the Rick or anything else with us, so what kind of life are we leading? And that's when I think it goes beyond, when it goes beyond the fashion. Another thing I want to note, I think, because we have the volume down, it's the, I think the soundtrack to this is Heroes, which Rick is always on point with, you know, the music. And I think to play Heroes, it speaks volumes. And it's kind of, again, just saying, it's like we can all be heroes. We can be our own hero. We're better together than we are apart. We just need to unify. But I'm a really big fan of every song he picks. I think there's so much intention. I think for Walrus back in 2017, it was a Nina Simone track. Black is the color of my new love's hair, and it was just in this. I think it was a concrete like synagogue that was stunning. In 2014, he used this. I think it was a noise metal punk band at Winnie Pooh, where the guitar was kind of going around. And I think he just knows. He's really on the pulse of just humanity. And I mean, music is a universal language as well.
So in the show notes on Heroes, he said, the track is the constant subliminal soundtrack to a lot of our lives, what you listen to on your earbuds in an empty village train station, on a cold, foggy night, on your way home, somewhere to work, on a weird and wonderful future. Which I think is
incredible, incredible,
fantastic,
so empowering.
Should we see if we have any questions from the audience?
Where are they?
Top chat.
Not gonna lie, it's giving cutesy.
Oh no! I don't want any bad comments.
I don't think.
I don't want any bad comments.
I don't think this.
Rick often shares his conceptual inspirations in the show notes. In your own process of how important.
Oh, there's a mirror behind us.
Sorry.
Yeah, babe.
Could we? I was mid-sentence.
I went off. Sorry.
There was a comment I saw about sensuality.
Sensuality?
And how Rick presents sensuality in menswear. What do we think about that in his menswear practice?
I think that's just the gay side of him just popping out a bit. Like, you know, like all the boys are always so like, you know, it's very chaste. Like there's there's like admiration for like a man's chest from like the top, the low plunge V-neck to I guess also on the podcast he was saying how there was a year where he was just wearing a lot of low plunge because he had just worked out his chest.
Yeah.
So he was like, oh, he has to show them off. Got it.
There's that one quote from him that like triggers my body dysmorphia beyond.
Oh,
the
no.
one where he talks about working out is modern couture.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, there are so many of those quotes. Even Kate Moss's one.
There is a quote.
Oh, no, I know that one. Yeah, that one scarred me.
There is a quote from Rick in 2015 to another magazine. He says, "Male aggression always fascinates me. There's always a sense of menace and vulnerability. Whenever I do a men's collection, they are always about self-loathing. How petty, how selfish, how vain I am." Do we think that is how he's explored men's this season? Can we go back to 25?
Let's see.
Because I think it's very, actually, very sensual.
I love these little
Yeah, I mean, come
pencil
on.
boots.
They're almost like
They
moths.
look like little chicken,
Wow, the
feathery chicken
boots,
feet.
yeah, they are amazing.
Reminds me
Who
of,
did them?
I saw that he collects those long black chicken feathers, ones that are like 3 meters long.
Yes.
From Japan or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know this.
Yeah,
He
and
gets
it's
them
super
feather by
rare.
feather.
He's like connected with this farmer who's got one of these really rare chickens and gets sent one feather every once in a blue moon, and he's just slowly collecting a little stack.
Like, I like this. This feels very like, I don't want to say it's like typical Rick Owens, but
Yeah.
it is like typical Rick Owens. But because of that, like I know people are still gonna keep wanting it, and like, you know, if you want to glamorize it up a bit, and like, it depends on how you want to style it, I guess.
Yeah.
Like if you want something different, like style it different. Like he has something throughout all his collections
Wow. Come on.
that, like, period.
I mean, look at this.
When I see that,
Incredible.
what I see is, do you know those chests that you, the sculptures of people with the semi, what's the name of it? I forgot.
I'm thinking of those latex bodysuits you get on
No.
Temu.
No!
I'm thinking of the half, it's called a chest, right? When you have a face and half of your chest as a sculpture.
Bust.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
clearly he's obsessed with the chest separation. I can see that. Maybe it's coming from his personal bodybuilding journey, because I was a bodybuilder and I could, relate to that, because we all strive to get that chest separation after working out, doing bench presses. And he kind of almost built the whole composition from there all the way up to the face, giving the face a nice,
I love that, and it would make a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Rick
it is very sculptural.
very
It's
fascinated with classicism, always. It's always a point of reference.
Roman bust, like, is that?
Yeah.
But I think too, it can also be, it's sensual, sexual, and it is, it's very feminine as well, because when you look at just this part, it's, I think it takes away the gender when it's just here, but you can see, even now looking at the diversity on here, it's incredible.
Yeah.
It is.
It's very Rick.
It is very Rick, and I don't know any other designer, when it's kind of, people have coined the term over the years, oh, it's very Rick, or young designers that are influenced heavily by Rick, and you can tell, and they're like, oh, it's very Rick, and I think even things being very
Love his
Rick,
glasses.
yeah, the glasses are amazing. He's very bold and courageous, and he'll introduce like a pop of citron yellow or pink or
Even
pattern or
But even
Sequins.
like a lot of
sequins.
But even like a lot of his clothes, like you feel like you can make them too. Like it's not nothing really like. It's like, okay, if you want to join the world but you can't afford it, like maybe you might not get the same like, I don't know, cashmere, like, jersey. But then like you can imitate the silhouettes, and he makes it, like you said, you have it on the SHOWstudio website, he makes it accessible to everyone.
It's amazing.
And that is so humble. It's like it's just offering that. It's again, it's he's part of the community.
It is a very difficult thing to make.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to
The way
try.
he,
Okay.
I'm sure people
even the
could
tank
make a
tops,
maxi skirt.
even the simple
Like, yeah, no, true.
People have been making them though. We've got countless submissions. A lot of people have gone viral on TikTok and Instagram. showing the process.
Put it on TikTok. He was promoting it.
Who was that?
Lias, the French.
Oh wow. Oh yeah. Oh, I saw that actually. He's
Shout out
amazing.
Yaz.
Oh, wow, okay.
I'll be making her. Forget a moment. Yeah, I'll make one for you.
We should have given you guys more heads up, and we all could have been wearing our
Yeah.
Gosh.
Rick Owens homemade tech tees.
Wow.
Not crazy.
Could we see if there's any more questions from YouTube? People don't talk about sensuality. You feel good when you slip on even a 200-pound tank. That sensuality
wear
was
tanks.
new in 2002, and it remains. How do we think masculinity, where does that sit today, and where does Rick sit within representing that?
I don't think Rick sits with the representation of masculinity.
I agree.
I don't think so. Rick sees body as a canvas. I mean, just coming from a designer's point of view, I think he sees body as maybe more than that. But and then I think he composes these. It's almost like a composition, or with the body.
It's like an extension
Yes.
of
Okay.
what exists.
And whoever wears it kind of embodies that. And I think it's the character energy that I get from Rick. You're the main character in your story. He almost built a character.
So I'm going to take it. Everyone here has a Rick piece or two.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't either, actually. How do you feel when you wear Rick Owens?
I feel fab.
They're super. They are sensual.
Yeah.
Just the fabrics as well, like the jerseys they develop, and it's all just because it's all mostly natural cottons and stuff that does naturally make your body feel good,
Like,
vibrate well.
I know, like, sometimes, like, because I have, like, this, like, the very thin tank top. I can't remember what the jersey is, but it's, like, so specific because you can't find that jersey anywhere else.
can't.
And, like, you'll be, like, in the club, like, you'll be sweating, and then the jersey will stick to you. And, like, it almost feels like when I party in Rick Owens, like, I almost feel like I'm in, you know that scene from the movie Zion? No, the Matrix movie.
I knew you were going to
Yeah,
say
the
in hell, in hell, club
where,
hell.
Yeah, where they're like in the club and they're all like feeling and rubbing each other. That's what wearing Rick Owens feels like.
It's true.
So I have a two-parter to that point. The first one, this show in particular, I think really played with or really celebrated Owens Corp and the Atelier in Concordia, hence the name Concordians. The show notes talk a lot about fabric choice and material, and I think you can see a lot of that. Those amazing tasseled boots and the kind of draping that he's done with this collection, which I think speaks to a lot of the success of Rick Owens as a brand, is, you know, being in control of that side of production that a lot of other brands kind of offshoot to their collaborators. The second point I wanted to make was, Yaz, you're working with FKA Twigs on Eusexua, and I think Rick is a real, I guess, pillar of this emerging underground club subculture. Why do you think that subculture has really gravitated towards the work of Rick Owens? This is FKA Twigs wearing those inflatable boots that he collaborated with that CSM.
Stray 2K.
Stray 2K,
Our friend
Cal,
He's
sweetheart.
absolutely amazing.
Sweetheart.
Wow, this was such a crazy thing to shoot. The latex shiner spray, like mixing in with the soil. It was all just
It's phenomenal.
very, guttural.
This could be a Rick show.
And then actually when you go to the next section, she's wearing the white versions, and she's also wearing this dress, also by Stray 2K, with these massive needles, obviously like impaling the dress. And it actually ended up popping one of the boots. But because they were both Cal's designs, it was sort of, he didn't actually care at all. He's so amazing. He was just like, yeah, I'll patch it up, whatever. But I mean, yeah, they totally go hand in hand. Even just like this whole album's energy is sort of about scorched soil and burnt metal, and these are the sort of colors and textures and feelings that come through in Rick's world as well. So just from an aesthetic point of view, but also just the philosophy behind both Twigs's album and the philosophy behind Rick that drives Rick's brand. They both have community at the forefront, championing the outsider, and just like being feral and sort of being boundaryless, and
it's almost a celebration of hedonism that
100%.
That we can feel shame about because of religion, because of politics, X, Y, Z. Community, as two designers, Harri and Faye, how important is that for you and kind of how you approach design?
I feel like the community finds you in a way. That sounds kind of cheesy, but like, you know, obviously, like, so I work with Lola also, and like, she, for example, like, she kind of just went out there, and like, it was kind of synonymous, like, they found her and she found them, and like, to be honest, the community has also changed in different ways, from like the people that buy into the clothing and people that buy into the brand. You know, we have the Nigerians who love it. We have the Americans, the Atlanta girls, the strippers, the, you know, the hood rats, the London girls, the niggas. Like, but everyone.
That was crazy.
Like,
wow.
That was
yeah, it was.
The gates to get into that show.
Oh, babe.
I thought I wasn't getting in.
No, you'd see like the biggest people ever from the industry being like, I can't get in, like rattling the gate.
Yeah, and like, you know, you have
so good.
like, you know, and people like to, you know, bring a black woman down, but like, you know, she's still like, she's stood through all the, like, she's persevered through and all that. And like, some people might see the clothes as controversial and be like, oh, I love what she used to do, I don't like what she does anymore. But then when that happens, the community sometimes will change, or like the community before will mix with a new community to create a new community, you know?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
I feel like, because I come from nowhere. I come from, I don't have any background, like art background or anything. I come from a different country, a small state, a small village. Just like how I believe Rick Owens came to LA. And I feel like it's really important to have a community. When you can see my community right there. It's really important to have a community, because
Such a beautiful image. I died when I saw that.
When you come from nowhere, you need help, you need collaborators, you need people to appreciate your work, you need people to tell you what you like about, you know, encourage you. So from that point of view, for a designer like me, to access a new community, and it's ever growing. Community within your studio, your bigger community, the people who appreciate you, the people who hate you.
I think it goes back to Faye's point that they find you, really. You're open and honest about your
and like,
politics and philosophy.
Even on that point of community, because like currently I'm trying to start my own brand, and I'm thinking about who do I want, like who are the people that feel more connected with me, and like who are the people that share in my philosophies. But then at the same time, I'm kind of like, I've noticed that as I've gone out more and I've experienced more of the world, it's like they find me and I've noticed I have been finding them, you know, like basically literally what I said before. And I feel that it just happens naturally. Yeah.
But this designer, Rick Owens, he embodies that idea of community. There's nobody who can quite match with that kind of
It almost goes
power,
beyond.
in a way.
Yeah. So what'd you say, Harri?
Like nobody can match that power when it comes to the influence in the community. That it is, when people, what people don't understand is this is somebody who started in 1994, has weathered so much of political, what is it called, like economic problems, politics. It's changed, it's been 3 decades now, so that's a lot of time. Stand the test of time. He's here. Yeah, and he's enjoying, actually. He's just being himself. He's just putting out...
That's the thing. He's just being himself. He's living his best life while he's including all of us.
Yeah.
And it is the ultimate spectacle of, there's that word again, community. You know, and And again, I think on both parts, our community seeks us out, and it's we're a mirror of each other, and I wouldn't be sitting here without my community, and so it's to be. I think we're an intricate part of like the whole, and just to know that it's at the end of the day, that's what matters. So I think Rick is really the epitome of community for sure.
Yeah.
Should we check YouTube one last time for any more questions before we give our final thoughts on?
Oh, it's over?
25.
I was just
I could go all day.
I loved reading about how he slept in the studio when he first moved to Concordia.
That feels very...
And that is probably why I'm actually so drawn to Rick as well, is these sort of sleeping bag forms.
Yeah.
I'm super comfort orientated, and him saying that just made me think it's sort of like he's got this sort of nomadic, like constantly you can just sleep wherever when you're wearing Rick.
I think it's really symbolic too about the world he's built and finding home somewhere.
It's home. Yeah, it's like
wearing
home.
your shell on your back.
Home is here. It's it's you're wearing your.
You can make it.
You can make it. You can take it with you, and it's you are your own home, and you see it in the way even Michele dresses. It's very like these bubbles and sleeping bags and home, and
It almost kind of reminds me of obviously I'm not comparing this to, some people might think it's awful, but Kanye and Ye and kind of that same primitive world, and seeing the way Bianca covers up and she had a similar thing to what you're wearing and but hers was black and
with the face cover.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah.
Just and
Was that Rick?
No, it wasn't. But I was just saying someone like Kanye, Ye, him and Rick have a similar vision and community, and I think Rick is also inspiring him too. That's just my 2 cents.
There are 2 questions that stood out to me. The first one was, Harry, how do you feel about the inflatable boots?
Oh wow! No.
I didn't think
I saw that, but I was trying to not.
Yeah.
I had to throw that out there.
Well, I was in a bus going to my studio when I first saw the inflatable boots, and I was just I was on Instagram. I just put down my phone and was just I closed my eyes and I was like, I hope my team doesn't see this. I came to my studio. My whole day was just talking about these boots.
Really?
Bless.
I have 2 sides to this. I have 2 emotional responses to this. One is, it's a free world. You can, you can draw. Nothing is new here, to be honest. It's I see Rick, and I think the reason why I'm what I am today is Rick as well, because I've studied his work, I've researched his work. He gives me the courage to put out what I do. He gives a sense of community, and I wish it was a collaboration.
Maybe next time. Another one that stood out was saying there was no one neutral on the panel. I dare you to find someone in fashion who is not
Wait, there was no one
neutral on the panel about Rick.
There's just not much you can say bad about Rick.
I will
your
bring up
style.
maybe I think him as an artist can be maybe too subversive for a lot of people. Rick has played with fetish a lot in his design language, but also in his personal artistic views. There was a video he put out on YouTube of him and a horse that was
let me see.
provocative. Christine, the artist, did that music
Butt
videos.
Butt muscle.
I love that video.
Incredible.
Butt muscle, but
So if you got a religious person on, maybe that'd be.
I get it too. It's like Satan and all of these other things, but I think it's.
But he's never said.
do we
But
think
he
there
always
should be a boundary?
No.
Common decency?
No.
I think he's very decent. He's decent with being authentic and being kind and compassionate. I think if his character didn't stand the way it did, then talk to me about it and then say I'm not neutral and all these things. But his lifestyle and his love and compassion, and you can even read on YouTube, or when he does post these things, are quite radical or in your face. There's always a reason, or he doesn't just leave it one note. He explains or gives his point of reference or where it's coming from. And so you kind of have to look beyond the surface, or if you take things out of context, you know, it's you know, you can't really win.
I'm thinking, I'm like, also, if you find it uncomfortable, like, go wear something else. Like, go look
Yeah.
at something else. Like,
I think it
does,
also
takes space.
opens up the conversation of why something makes you feel uncomfortable.
And I think
that's
that question is when you have to ask yourself, why does something, or why do I make somebody feel uncomfortable? Or
why does
do I
this
want?
thing offend me to a point?
Yeah, to where it's like, let me look inward or let me explore. And I think that's just part of self-evolution and growing and becoming. But it's hard to take ourselves outside of and see it from an outsider perspective.
If you see both sides of Rick, the personal and the artistic side of Rick, and the business and the design, I mean, end of the day, fashion design is a commercial art. It has to, you know, satisfy certain criteria, and people. You don't have to look this side. You can always look this side. This is 30 years of experience, team building, consistency, materials, and a lot of fearlessness.
A lot.
And that's something in this time, right?
Wow.
So
When you think about
I know.
when you think about all the musical chairs and the
Yeah.
and
Which I think is a good segue into maybe my final question, which someone also pointed out on YouTube, which is the evolution of design aesthetics. So the comment says that Rick let him down with the Hollywood show because of a lack of newness.
Okay. Can I have their Instagram?
A lack of newness. And I think to maybe someone, again, unfamiliar with Rick's work, that it can look maybe a bit samey season after season. But because it's, you know, muted color palettes, it's draping, it's structured pagoda shoulders, it's...
yeah, you know, go on. Something that people, okay, this is with any designer that I see out. When people think about a collection and a creative director, they're not thinking about there's a wider team behind the creative director who's making that creative director, or in Rick's case, who he is and what he put out there. It is incredibly hard to create something new every 6 months. When I see Rick's work, it's like wine. It just ages gracefully, you know.
That's so beautiful.
And I feel like it's too much to expect. He's been consistently delivering. He's you know, his vocabulary is ever, you know, growing. The fabrications breathe of fresh air every time we see a collection. The forms and the silhouettes and the drapes, they rhymes every season. It's been, you know, you can take a show from 2012, 2015, 2019. You see it rhyming every 3-4 years. And I think that's and it's a painting that's never complete. I think that Rick's work is something that never completes. It's just a big masterpiece, and it just keeps building. And it's unfair for anyone to expect newness out of, you know, it's just, that's not the kind of, that's not how you should look into it. I can't look into Rick's work like that. When I see Rick's work, I see all these small elements and things building up, layers and layers and layers of years of hard work and deconstruction. I see it, I know how he would have deconstructed something and learned from it and then put it out there. So yeah.
Also, it sells. Like, it's like, why are you gonna, like, what's that saying? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, you know, he can literally do whatever he wants at this point and it will sell. He has the community that's backing him up.
800 doors.
He has his, you know, it's just kind of like, I think also, was it this show where they had loads of students
Yes.
Yeah.
walking? And I was like, I thought that was a fun bit. Like, I had friends that were walking that show too. They were kind of like, you know, everyone got to fulfill their dream of like, oh, I walked for Rick Owens, like, you know? And like, yeah.
I mean, it's to extend that to the community and to, I mean, think about what that did for the, you know, for these kids or people that felt, again, seen and heard, what it did through their daily life, to their art practice. And I think, you know, when he had was it Porterville, when he had it in his house?
Yeah.
Again, and just he's always very respectful, you know, and very kind and honorable. So I do think that he's still reinventing the wheel. You know, there is repetition. I think repetition is required when anybody has a big brand. You know, you can look at something, and hopefully something that I do as an artist, or if you do something, it's like, you know, you leave your mark. You want to leave your mark in the world, and I think Rick leaves his mark in the world, but also by reinventing the wheel, and you will see new things, you know, but you will always go back to the main point that it is Rick Owens.
I also maybe disagree quite a bit with the sameness of Rick Owens. I think the Porterville shows, the ones that were in his house, really showed an evolution of his really couture-like silhouettes, these exaggerated cocoons that were, I think, so phenomenal. Yes, maybe this Autumn-Winter 25 menswear show wasn't the pinnacle of couture newness within the Rick world, but I don't think it has to be, and I do think when you break down this most recent show, it is a celebration of Concordia and the Owens ateliers and the people who
it's a love letter
there.
it's a love letter to his team. So like, and it's a nice collection. Like I think everyone here,
The boots are new.
like that shady comment that person made trying to make us say something bad about Rick Owens. Like
No, we ain't going there.
yeah, shut up.
No, girl. But I think also it's. I mean, look at it's remarkable, and it's. Yeah.
Any final thoughts on Autumn-Winter 25 menswear from Rick Owens?
Color palettes fab, silhouettes are fab.
I would have loved a pop of color. I know he saves that usually for women's, but fuchsia, I'm obsessed with.
Fuchsia pony hair.
You'll get that next.
If you look close.
I thought I saw a fuchsia bag.
What are the accessories?
Blink and you'll miss it.
Yeah.
But it's all right.
It's
the
spermatizi.
this one here, the really short
could
white
we
with
go back?
the shredded white or the off white.
This,
Look at
I
this,
think,
that's
yeah.
stunning.
Amazing.
Like that's new. Like I don't know,
That's all new. The shredding.
Collaboration, I believe.
Oh, okay.
What'd you say?
I've not
It's a
seen it.
collaboration.
Oh, is it the shredding?
Yeah, yes.
I think it's amazing how he's collaborating so much as well.
Yeah.
Again, you're putting the
Community.
spotlight on community
Yeah,
and young designers and really giving,
entrepreneur.
and giving them a
Raising the bar.
platform. Huh?
I was like, he's constantly raising the bar for us all.
Yeah, constantly.
I couldn't think of a better way to end.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us talking about Rick Owens, Autumn-Winter 25. Remember, go to SHOWstudio.com, design download your Rick Owens tech tee pattern, make it, we'd love to see it. That is it for menswear panels, but we'll be back for haute couture, talking about Valentino, and there's loads more Paris Fashion Week content from our editors on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Don't forget to like and subscribe.